Hey, what's up everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. So I read something, sounds like cap to me. Sounds like cap. I'm only bringing it to you guys because the possibility of it not being cap is possible, in my opinion. It's one of those situations where it's like, I can totally see this dude doing this. Ben Simmons, it's been reported by a not so great source that he has said that he would be willing to miss training camp to force a trade to a California team. The one that's most likely is the Sacramento Kings. Obviously, the Warriors are also involved, but they are kind of reluctant to give up the type of stuff that I think Philadelphia will want back. I don't trust this. If I'm being real with you guys, I don't often bring stuff to you guys that I get from sources I don't trust. This is one of those situations, and the only reason why I'm bringing it to you because hypothetically it's a good conversation, even if it is cap. Because the reality is, Ben Simmons really wants out of Philadelphia. We all know that. Now, whether or not he's willing to take it to this extent, I don't think that works in his benefit, which is why I don't believe this is true. Because you're hurting yourself when you do that. For one, you're rendering yourself to only 4 teams. 2 of them don't want you. The other 2 probably can't get you. And it's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, maybe you should consider starting the season with the Philadelphia 76ers being a good boy with your trade request on the table. Play up to your value so people can be remembered of the good Ben Simmons, see the work that you put in the offseason, and then maybe try to get you a better opportunity somewhere when you know what the lay of the land looks like. For example, Sacramento Kings, as I've talked about on this channel, they're going to find out that they have 3 star level guards that all need to be starting and all need 30 plus minutes. They can't keep all of them. So this is a situation where one of those guys can end up in Philly for you. But Sacramento needs to start the season and know who it is that they're willing to hold on to and who they would be willing to give up in theory. Now, here's the deal. If I'm Sacramento, I'm not really looking to make a deal for Ben Simmons necessarily. But with this problem on hand, maybe it would make sense to try to condense those guards. Maybe it would make sense to try to get rid of those guards early. And if a guy like Ben Simmons, who is a perennial all-star, regardless of his flaws, if he's available at $100 million, maybe we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone if I trade his contract for De'Aaron Fox's. Why does that kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Because now you don't have that logjam at the point guard position in theory. Yes, Ben Simmons is a point guard. No, you're not playing him as one if you're Sacramento. Sorry, Ben, you're playing the 4. And that's the reality of it. You're bringing Ben Simmons in to be a defensive stopper and a facilitator from the 4 spot. And that's it. Like, I'm sorry, he has to play in the paint. Until he learns how to shoot, your ass is in the paint. And that's the only way it's going to work, and that's the only reason why you can justify trading a player like De'Aaron Fox, whose contract will match, which is why you do it, for him. Because if you ask me which player I'd rather have, of course it's De'Aaron Fox. But the problem is, you got 3 guards, and you already got Fox on $400 million. So now off night basically doesn't have the role he needs. Tyrese Halliburton doesn't have the role he needs, and you're going to be forced to trade somebody. Let it be the one that costs you the most, in my opinion. That's De'Aaron Fox. Now, if you don't want to go that route, maybe you love De'Aaron Fox more than you love the other 2, you get one out of there. But you can't expect this to work. Those are 3 big-time star prospects who, if given a starter's role, could go to work. So I don't like what Sacramento has. Ben Simmons, in theory, doesn't necessarily make things better if they play him as a point guard. In fact, I could argue that makes things a bit more complicated for them. But if you just force him to play the 4 and force him to be a defensive player for you and somebody who catches lobs, there's a hell of a role for him because he's a facilitator who makes other people better. And he is working on his jump shot, and maybe one day that will translate to real basketball. But until then, you know what you're bringing in. A guy whose head isn't where it needs to be based on the confidence we just saw, but his athleticism and his skill set can help a basketball team, particularly defensively and passing the rock. So, yeah, man, I mean, Ben, just start the season with Philly, dude. Don't let this story be true. I think this hurts your cause. Remember, we all need to remember this about Ben Simmons. Although he's a very talented player, he can't let his arrogance or ego or whatever that would be equated to get in the way of the reality of the fact that he has some flaws that make him unplayable in this league, particularly from the free throw line. That's the one. If he's shooting like 30%, 40% from the line, he's unplayable. No Cali team, no NBA team is going to want you down there, because every time you get the ball, you're not going to shoot, thus making the defense easily schemed against you. And, of course, you're going to be bad at the line, so that means you're going to be reluctant to score in the paint, reluctant to drive into the paint, reluctant to do certain things. The last image we saw of you was being reluctant to score the ball for fear of the free throw line. It's just a very, very, very souring memory, and he's got to accept the fact that he doesn't have the power or the leverage in this situation. His contract is long and absorbent, so nobody's going to be quick to take it. Even if they like the player, they don't love that contract. So he's just going to have to kind of play ball, be a good boy, basically, and go out there and play basketball for the Philadelphia 76ers. We know what you want. They're looking to trade you, so it's not like they're holding you hostage. No, they can't move you, bro. Not without doing something that's bad for the franchise. And, quite frankly, they have a responsibility to not make bad decisions. Simple as that. They're trying to keep their job, so they can't just trade you for a couple pennies just to get you out of there just because you're you. Nah, that's not how that works. They have to be able to find somebody who will work with them, and they have to be okay with the deal, ownership, etc. So it's like, look, Ben, play ball, bro. You have an opportunity to play a starting basketball role in the NBA. There are a trillion people out here who would love to be in your position with your skill set, with your size, with your money. I'm not saying that you should just shut up and play ball necessarily. That's not the vibe. But what I'm saying is, until you have leverage, you really don't have a choice. Not to say that the story is true, but it should not be true for this very reason. All you're doing is lowering your value even further, making yourself more difficult to trade, making it more likely that you stay in Philly. So if you're trying to get out of there, you're playing chess wrong. Be cool, play ball, show us as many off-season workout videos as possible of you shooting three-point shots and making them. And come out and say you're looking forward to playing basketball. That's the most important thing for a guy like that to say. You don't have to lie and say, yo, I can't wait to get back to Philly, but get out here and say, yo, I can't wait to show y'all what I've been working on. That's what you need to be saying. That way teams can be like, oh, well, he's excited. Okay, maybe I could take a flyer for him. Hey, look at him. He looks great. But any story coming out about you being insubordinate or trying to show some resistance or flexing like you got some leverage, it's going to make it so that your situation is worse. Simple as that. If we learned anything from Dennis Schroeder, is that it's not just basketball that can hurt your value. Your mouth and your silence can hurt your value too. So, yeah, man. This is one of those times where it's like, I would tell Ben Simmons to say something. With stories like this coming out, say something, anything. Just be like, yo, hey, I can't wait to play ball, man. I love this sport. It's what I do. Can't wait to show y'all what it is I'm working on. That's all we need to hear. Little stuff like that, man. I don't think people realize how far those things can go. Little stuff like that from the right person at the right time can change everything for you. But anyway, that's just how I look at it. At the end of the day, Ben Simmons is a talented player who's already been paid. His money is straight. So if push comes to shove and things don't necessarily work out, his life is set. He'll be fine. But I hope he's able to find a situation that works for him, because we haven't seen him in a situation that is catered to what it is that he does best. He's an orchestrator, one of the best the league has to offer. And he's also a great defender, one of the best the league has to offer. You couple those two things, that means people are getting better, and you have extra possessions just simply because he's on the floor. That's worth sacrificing some of the attributes that he does not have. And that's why I don't think being low on him long term is the way to go. Being low on him short term while he's still developing, which he is logical, because he has to prove some things. But long term, looking 4, 5, 6 years down the road, yes, you want Ben Simmons on your team, because if he works out some of these problems, he's nearly a perfect player. Quite honestly. If he turns into a 34% three-point shooter and a 72% free throw shooter, he's in all-star teams every year. Every year. And that's not even good shooting. That's just up to average standard shooting. So that's how elite of a athlete and basketball mind he actually is. But he's gonna have to do himself some favors right now, and getting California out of his mind is probably the very best one of them, because the Lakers, that's not a good fit for the Lakers. That's a bad contract. The only thing about this that works is the fact that you would enjoy being a Laker just for your own peace of mind. That's not a good situation at all for your skill set, and for what we have going on, that's bad. So that's not a good fit. It's horrible. Second fit, Clippers, they don't have anything that Philly would want. I wouldn't mind bringing you to the Clippers. I think that would be a great spot for you if you can play with Paul George. I love that. Problem is, Kawhi. You got a whole $125 million Kawhi on the books that ain't going nowhere, who may not even be coming back. So the Clippers ain't got nothing. Unless they're willing to trade Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, they can't make it work. It's not possible. They don't have any picks. They have nothing. So get the Clippers out of your mind. You're not coming to Los Angeles. So now we're talking about Golden State. Well, the Golden State Warriors, if they would play ball with Philadelphia and give up some of those pieces, yeah, they'd have it. Because they got the picks and they got the players. They got to give up Kuminga. They got to give up Moody. They got to give up Wiseman. They got to give up a lot of stuff that they should not, in theory, be willing to give up for you. So you remove the Golden State Warriors. That's all the Cali teams. They're done, bro. None of them can do it. So you got to get that out your mind. I lobby for Houston. Houston, Ben Simmons. Houston. You want to play with Jalen Green. You want to play with Kevin Porter. You want to play with Christian Wood. You want to play with Deshaun Tate. Trust me, Houston for John Wall is what I'm screaming, and that's what I would be screaming if I were Ben Simmons and his representation. That's the spot. Because they need somebody to help play defense. They need somebody to help make all those young players better, and they can use you in spots because they have enough shooting to make it make sense if they don't give up a whole lot, which they won't, because all they're going to do is swap you for John Wall to make the numbers work. And in theory, John Wall's the more reliable player stretching the floor, so maybe you don't have to attach anything to John Wall if you're the Houston Rockets bringing back Ben Simmons' crazy contract and limited shooting percentages. If they can swap head up, which should be logical, it should make sense to be swapping those guys just for one another without anything else attached. And if that's the case, voila, win for both teams, especially the Houston Rockets and Ben Simmons. That's a super win for the Rockets and Ben Simmons. I don't know that the Rockets see it that way, but it would be, because what he does is give you one of the top defensive players in all of basketball, and what you have a problem with right now is defense. Because they can score with everybody. Houston can score with anybody. I'm telling you right now, they can. So, all of that has been said. If you watch my videos, that's not a new point. It's just about players learning from other players' mistakes as it pertains to how they handle their free agency and how they handle their offseason, how they handle their leverage space and all of that. We saw Schroeder teach us all a lesson. Don't make that same mistake, Ben Simmons, in a different way. By allowing your mouth and your wishes to ultimately bring your value even further down. That's what I got. My name is BDL44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.